Illegal Curve post-game show, a game that Charles Dickens himself would have appreciated. Author of A Tale of Two Cities, this was a tale of two games for the Winnipeg Jets. Badly outplayed to start, absolutely dominated to begin. If it wasn't for Connor Hellebuck, the game would have been all but over nice and early. Instead, the team turns it around and writes a different story altogether for the third period on their way to a convincing 4-1 victory, convincing at the very least on the scoreboard. With Dave Minuk, with Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to talk about tonight's tonight's game. This is brought to you by our friends at Play Now, official sponsor of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Learn to bet with Play Now, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Sign up and get up to $250 in bonus bets. Conditions apply. 18 plus, enjoy responsibly. You knew entering this game that there was adversity the Winnipeg Jets were going to be facing. They were without Dylan Samberg and are going to be without him for the foreseeable future. Many unknowns, many question marks on the back end. And early in tonight's contest, it certainly looked like the Jets were struggling to skate uphill against the Wild. But Connor Hellebuck is Connor Hellebuck, and he is the backbone of this team, the backbone of this franchise. And thanks to him and his expected goals, or his goals saved above expected of 3.63 in tonight's contest.
That's it?
The Winnipeg Jets. Yeah, that's it. Only 3.63. Just a quiet little evening for Connor Hellebuck, which tells you really most of that came in the first 40 minutes anyways, because of the third period, the Jets controlled the game. But just tells you how good Connor Hellebuck was for the Winnipeg Jets tonight, Mr. Ginsburg.
Yeah, the dream of the Jets going 78-4 is still alive, so we have to get that out there right off the bat. But yeah, I don't know, boys, if we have enough time to go over all the big saves that Hellebuck made. But wow, even in the third period, remember Matt Boldy had that great chance right after Kirill Kaprizov had a good chance, and I agree with that comment. I'm not sure if we put that up yet, that it looked like Kirill Kaprizov might be injured again after he tripped over Zach Bogosian's stick. But Kaprizov was certainly noticeable. He didn't look like a guy who just missed a game. And, the story really is Connor Hellebuck tonight. He didn't have to face a lot of rubber in the third period,
right,
but certainly in the first two periods, 38 or 39 shots. Everybody saw the shot totals, 22 after the first period.
Yeah.
The Wild were all over the Jets. I just thought the Jets were allowing too many shots, and it was just, shot, traffic, rebound. And we saw it on the first goal. We'll get into that in the Play Now game recap. But the Jets were just a little too passive, I thought, in the first period. And for most of the second period, it wasn't until, the second half of the second period when the Jets started to come on there. But as you mentioned, Drew, no Dylan Samberg. Hayden Fleury steps up. It wasn't perfect. He took a penalty in the second period, but for the most part, I thought Hayden Fleury and Pionk were excellent. And we have to talk about Alex Iafallo, guys. Obviously, he scores a couple of goals. It looked like his second goal might have been credited to Nino Niederreiter because he was in front there as well. But Iafallo had himself a game. That fourth line was great. I got to give Dave M a lot of credit. I thought that was one of the best games I've ever seen Rasmus Kupari play. And obviously, he picks up the first assist of the season for him. If anybody who doesn't follow this team would look at Rasmus Kupari's stat line and say, he's only got 2 goals and 1 assist on the season, but he was being physical. He elevated his game. The fourth line was excellent. Thought the third line was really good. Obviously, they chip in a couple goals, including the Lowry empty netter, but just finding a way to win, persevering. And it's got to be frustrating, boys, when you put that much rubber on Connor Hellebuck and you only have 1 goal to show for it.
Well, you saw, to your point there, Ezzy, I think you saw a Minnesota Wild team that lost their composure as this game went on. They were dominant, of course, for the first 20, I'd say even 30 minutes of tonight's contest. And then they really, I thought, just lost a lot of their composure, Dave, especially after Niederreiter scored in the second period, which proved to be the game-winning goal. I mean, they lost their composure on that play. And then from then on, the Jets just clamped down and really did an admirable job, telling Minnesota, reminding them, hey, you've lost now 7 games in a row to the Winnipeg Jets. So, just call us daddy, that the Jets are saying to the Minnesota Wild in the back half of tonight's contest. The first half, a disaster, wasn't for Connor Hellebuck, as we spoke to, but the Wild team got frustrated and they couldn't channel that frustration into success. Instead, they lost their composure.
I like this comment by Winnipeg Jets. I haven't put it up yet because I like Doug's comment as well. But Winnipeg said Hellebuck looked like he was seeing at least a second or two into the future, which is true. I mean, he was sensational. There aren't enough words, and the Jets have won many a game because he was outstanding.
Yeah.
Well, 42 saves in this one, especially with what he was able to do in the first and second periods. I mean, nothing would have frustrated the Minnesota Wild more than. I mean, there were a number of instances where I was like, how did he keep that out? And then he'd make another save. I'd be like, well, how do you keep that one out? But he gets up for these types of games. And this is a huge game, right? First place team in the NHL versus the second place team in the NHL. And I can tell you right now, boys, that nobody, and I'm going to say this one more time, nobody at the quarter point of the season would have predicted the Jets would be first place and the Minnesota Wild would be second place. They're both remarkable stories. Jets actually, I think, is less of a surprise because of how they did last year, regardless of how their playoffs went. They still came back largely the same, but both these teams being first and second, they're remarkable stories in and of itself. Both teams are, and I know the Jets fans, like I tweeted out initially when I sent out the show one at 7:00, Jets folks from Manitoba, they'll support the Vikings, they'll support the Twins, but they're not going to support the Minnesota Wild.
No.
Where friendly Manitoba, Minnesota Nice go head to head. And like I said, it was a good day. We had Colby Spence. Our photog is down at XL Energy Center. He was shown on TV during that fight, or that not really a fight between Middleton and scrum between Middleton and Scheifele. And he got us a bunch of real good pictures. So Colby was down there shooting photos for IC. We're lucky to have him. And it was a good game. And like I said, Minnesota is a fast team. They played fast. Thought it was funny. And Joe from Winnipeg sent me a message saying, it's pretty interesting to see they weren't D-paired together, but see Zach Bogosian paired with Declan Chisholm as a tandem with the Minnesota Wild. But overall, just an impressive game. And the third and fourth lines again for the Jets team, while the first and second lines, clearly Mark Scheifele is bothered by something. And the second line is the second line. They're okay. They just, they weren't generating a ton, but the third and fourth lines for Winnipeg continue to produce.
Yeah, and when the bottom of your lineup is winning the minutes and contributing in the manner that they were, it certainly is a boon to the team, especially when your top line is going through something like Scheifele clearly is, and that Mesnikov and Ehlers and Perfetti were, I would say, fine in tonight's game, nothing much more than that. But let's talk about Ville Heinola, who made his season debut with the Winnipeg Jets after so many false starts over the last number of years. He was on the ice for 12 minutes and 14 seconds. It was all even strength time, so no special teams time. He had 2 shots on goal for the Winnipeg Jets tonight. I thought that they eased him into the lineup. I thought that he would, in fact, or I thought, after Sunday's, was that Sunday? No, Saturday night's game, I thought that he might end up playing with Neil Pionk. They'd keep, one of the pairs together with Fleury and Colin Miller. Clearly, I was wrong about that. But Ville Heinola, I thought, was fine for the Winnipeg Jets for his first game at the NHL level in many a moon. I thought that he was certainly serviceable, and that I think he's only going to get better as he continues to get acclimatized to the NHL speed.
Yeah, right. And he draws a penalty, right? Marcus Foligno took the penalty in the third period, which obviously resulted in a Jets goal. And so, that's not a bad first game of the season, right? We have to mention that it was almost 2 years since he's played an NHL game, right? Dave was covering it today on illegalcurve.com, and you just love to see Heinola get back in the lineup first and foremost, right? And I agree with you, Drew. Like, he didn't play an overly complicated game. Like, there were a couple chances, a couple situations where he jumped up into the play a little bit. We know skating and IQ are Heinola's strengths, so I think that was a good first showing for him on the third pair with Colin Miller. And that's not an easy situation to go into, right? As Dave mentioned, this is the second best team in the league, division rival. Even though the Jets have a lot of success against the Wild, they don't make it easy, right? Like we already talked about it. The Jets were badly outshot, but not just badly outshot, badly outplayed. Like these were quality chances that the Wild were getting. We talked about we didn't even mention that save that he made on Hellebuck made on Jarrett Spurgeon in tight. That was when the Wild were on the power play. I think the Wild had something like 9 or 10 shots on the power play. I mean, this was a high shot volume game, obviously, guys, but
but these were high quality shots though as well from the Minnesota Wild's perspective. They weren't, they weren't beach balls coming in from 200 feet away, not 200 feet, of course, but they weren't beach balls from the side of the boards or anything. They were oftentimes in high danger areas. I believe the high danger chances for the Minnesota Wild, if I'm not mistaken, were 11 for the Wild, and they really had a lot of those. All those 11 came within the first 40 minutes of the game. So it speaks to the effort.
None in the third period.
None in the third period at all.
Again, this is a game in which the Jets weathered the storm. To steal a line from what was happening in Winnipeg today with all the snow, right? And so you got to like the fact that the Jets rode Connor Hellebuck's goaltending and got some timely goals, and then absolutely clamped it down in the third period. I loved the way that the Jets just shut it down, made the neutral zone quicksand basically, and didn't really allow I think they had only 4 or 5 shots. We talked about no high danger chances, right? So, I mean, this is a huge win. I mean, the Jets obviously, didn't want to start a losing streak here. The game against Nashville, they didn't like how they played. You heard the players talk about it after the game, and, they pick up a big win here, and now they move on, and the road trip continues to be tough, and they're going to have to, keep it going, hopefully against LA.
Well, sorry, go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just going to say, sticking with the idea about Ville Heinola, I mean, he played kind of the way you wanted him to play. They showed him on the bench talking to Colin Miller and having conversations, and kind of like, as he said, it was almost 2 years since he played a game. He's played 2 AHL games. His last real AHL game before this weekend was 7 months ago. So even when they say 2 years ago was his last NHL game, his last AHL game before this weekend, or before Thursday and Saturday, were 7 months ago when he played in Texas in the play-in series. So I thought he was good in the sense that, like, he did exactly what you wanted. He wasn't particularly, significant, but that's okay. He didn't get dumb. He didn't get embarrassed. I thought he was fine. Is there something you want to get in, Drew?
No, I
thought you made the motion, so I thought you were ready for. Thought there was some breaking news you needed to share with the audience, but no. There's not much I can add, but I just thought you just needed him to have he got ready to go and like a big subject of our conversation on Saturday's Illegal Curve Hockey Show was which game would be ideal. We realized, of course, quickly after the game against Nashville, it wasn't going to be what was going to be ideal, because we don't know if it would have been today or if they would have waited till Wednesday against the Kings, but they got him in against, and look, some of the people in the chat, I think in the conversation Drew and I were having, were saying, get him into the game against Minnesota. You may as well, if you may need him in the playoffs, so you may as well put him in a tough situation and get him going. No dipping your toe in, Ezzy. This is a cannonball right into the deep end.
Who I thought really played a good game for the Winnipeg Jets tonight as well, and was certainly noticeable out there, and a steadying force, and he has been all season long, was Neil Pionk. I thought Neil Pionk, Hayden Fleury, the Jets asked a lot of Hayden Fleury in tonight's game. Hayden Fleury is there you go. Roscoe's agreeing with me. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but Hayden Fleury was asked a lot of him. He's a guy who's really was brought in to be a 7th defenseman by and large on this Winnipeg Jets team. All of a sudden tonight, he's playing, top pair, second pair minutes. And I thought Neil Pionk was noticeable for all the right reasons and really did a good job in sort of calming situations down. I thought Hayden Fleury played a good game as well. I didn't think that he was in too far over his head. Neil Pionk just under 23 minutes, 22:54, 135 shorthanded, 134 on the power play. I just thought that he, as he has been all year for this Winnipeg Jets, has been very steady and very calm and hasn't been really bad Neil. He's been noticeable Neil for all the right reasons, I would say, Ezzy.
Yeah, not to be a contrarian here, just looking up hoping that I would be able to back it up.
No, I saw the
second worst Corsi on the team.
But I don't buy. I saw that, and
bugging you, Drew.
I know, but this is a difference between eye test and analytics, because I saw that as well, and I totally, and I was a little taken aback by it.
No, Pionk was fine tonight.
How bad the analytics look for him, and all due respect to those who buy into those, who put a lot of stock into that, but I still thought Neil Pionk, in a difficult role where he's trying to carry somebody like Hayden Fleury largely in that role and a new partner that he's never really played with. I thought he was at least solid for the Winnipeg Jets.
Oh, he was. He absolutely was. I was obviously bugging you, Drew. I wasn't trying to just.
But I did notice the Corsi 4 as well, and I was a little hesitant to bring that up in case somebody was going to yell at me, as people like to do.
Well, no, but the most important thing is, he provided, that nice shot that was tipped by Alex Scheifele, right? And he played a good game, and you're right. I mean, Hayden Fleury's playing more minutes than he would normally play, and this is a guy that's got, hundreds of games of NHL experience. So I don't think there was a lot of hesitation there. I think it would have been interesting if Heinola was paired up on this with Neil Pionk, because I think that line would provide there'd be a lot of excitement, to say the least, between Heinola and Pionk. Maybe a little bit too much excitement. But look, we talked about the Wild. Like, the Wild are a good team, guys. Like, they have a lot of skill, a lot of talent, and they're fast. Right? Like, they controlled the pace of play for much of the first half of this game. It wasn't until the Jets made those adjustments and, started to turn the tide around. And obviously, Alex Scheifele's goal was a little bit of a killer that put them up 2-1. But, I mean, Eriksson, Ek, Kaprizov, and Boldy, that's one of the reasons, Drew, I think why his numbers probably weren't very good, because when that pairing was up against that line, you could see that they were hemmed in their own zone. And look at, sometimes you have to just say, this was a game in which, we only had like one good period and part of a decent second period, but that was good enough to win the game because of the saves that Hellebuck made. That's and, right. Hellebuck usually does that. If he allows a goal, the first goal, I'm sure he didn't like the rebound that was kicked out to Jake Middleton. Not going to say that was obviously Hellebuck's fault, but we've seen that time and time again where Hellebuck might let in a goal in the first period that's a little bit suspect, and then he doesn't let any more goals in, right, Dave? So Hellebuck deserves a big part of this win, but also I think, we really can't overstate how good the fourth line was tonight. And that's what has been made the Jets successful this year. And I agree with what Dave said. I didn't think Perfetti, Ehlers, and Nemestikov, they weren't bad, but it was one of those games where, they didn't generate a ton of offense. I'd have to look at the advanced stats to see what the expected goals or anything like that were. But I think we would all agree that the eye test said that line wasn't very good. Scheifele, Connor, Velarde, they had chances. I really like Connor's game. I think he had something like 8 shot attempts. Again, I don't have that readily available. I think he had 3 credited shots. So I like Kyle Connor's game. Mark Scheifele's clearly dealing with something, boys. And you could see him on the bench. He's frustrated, still not taking faceoffs right. So
the question is, is it something that they let him play through for the next month until the Christmas break? Because there's no break in the schedule. It's every second day, basically from here until the Christmas break, where you get those 4 days off or whatever it is. So the question is it manageable, and will it heal up over those 4 days, or is it something that's going to linger, and will it get to the point where they need him to, he needs to sit for a game or two? And we don't know the answer to that, of course, but it is certainly noticeable that something is afflicting him at this point.
Well, obviously, right? I mean, you don't keep letting Gabe Velarde and Kyle Connor, the face-off specialist, taking your face-off for you, right? So obviously Mark Scheifele's dealing with something. They can't hide it anymore. He has taken some face-offs. He did it in the game against Nashville, but it's clear when your center is not taking face-offs that he's dealing with something. But we don't know. And whatever it is, they're obviously feeling like they can keep him in the lineup. And it's a good point, Drew, because at a certain point you say, well, what's better? We've already built up a huge buffer,
right?
We got a 19 point edge. I don't know if Nashville was in action tonight, but now got 19 points up on Nashville. So you've got a lot of latitude. You just, I know that
Nashville got shit kicked tonight, if I recall correctly.
Okay, Minnesota.
They lost 5-2 to New Jersey.
Okay, so New Jersey's the second best team right now in the NHL.
No, but they generated 21 shots on goal for the entirety of the game. They got badly outplayed.
Okay, but anyway, so it's what I'm saying is that you've got the Jets now even have a bit more buffer on Minnesota, who have a game in hand. And again, we're not scoreboard watching quite yet, but what I'm saying is you've built yourself up the luxury to, if you need to, give your center a few days off. But I would imagine this is something they've evaluated, and they've made the decision to keep playing them. So they're maybe hoping that it'll just work its way out. But clearly it's not something that they think that he can just take a game off or two, right, Ez?
Well, yeah, Dave, you might not be scoreboard watching, but I was certainly watching Alexander Georgiev smash his stick over the crossbar after, what did he allow, 5 goals? 6 goals tonight?
Yeah. He lost 8-2.
Did you see what Miles?
8
Did
goals.
you see what Miles Wood did?
I did not see that.
So he was. They were going. I don't know when. At what point it was. It must have been during either the intermission or the end of the game. He smashed his stick into the as they're leaving the ice and going into the room, and it's ricocheted and it hit the head coach right in the face.
It hit Jared Bednar in the face.
Sorry, Jared Bednar. Yeah, I lost his name for a second.
Are the Avalanche going to acquire a goaltender? Like, I realize this is a Saturday show topic, but like at what point? I mean, is there any goaltender more bipolar in the NHL than Alexander Georgiev? It's like one great game, one terrible game.
Binnington.
Yeah,
Team Canada starting goaltender.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Fair enough.
Let's get into it. We'll break it down goal by goal. We do this on each and every edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show. You know what it's called.
The Play Now Game Recap.
The Play Now Game Recap is a key component of every one of these Illegal Curve post-game shows. We do this after each and every Winnipeg Jets game, 5 minutes after 10 o'clock on a Monday night. Many, many hundreds of you joining us. If you haven't already done so, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast. This way you will be notified each and every time we go live, such as this coming Wednesday night, a late night edition, Illegal Curve After Dark with the Jets and the LA Kings. So we're going to be up late, which means you have to be up late as well. That's coming up on Wednesday with the next edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show. But for now, we have tonight's post-game show and Play Now Game Recap to discuss. The Minnesota Wild, as we've documented so far in the first 20 or so minutes of the show, controlled the early parts of this game, and they were rewarded as such by getting an early goal 8 minutes and 37 seconds into the game. The Jets hanging on for dear life. Jacob Middleton gets his 4th of the year, assist to Marcus Johansson, and Brock Faber, who is just an absolutely dynamite young defenseman. That is not breaking news here on the show. Middleton just gets behind Mark Scheifele. You see Scheifele is just a little bit in a trailing position. He can't tie up Middleton's stick. It's a big rebound after the Johansson shot, and Middleton makes no mistake as he pounding it past Connor Hellebuyck after it seemed like for a while there, the Wild weren't going to get anything past the Jets goaltender.
Yeah, I mean, it's undoubtedly a situation where, you know, the Wild are pouring on the pressure at home. You know, this is a game between the first and second best teams in the league, and they're getting a lot of shots on net early. And first off, what was interesting here was that Ehlers actually took the faceoff. They lose the faceoff, and Brock Faber.
Sorry, I just saw Miles Wood smash the stick. It just came up on my second screen here. He nails Jared Bednar in the head with the ricochet. I mean, that's a team that's right now a little bit in some disarray. Sorry, Ezzy, I interrupted.
They actually haven't played that bad lately, but I know what you're saying. They're disarray in terms of, like, it seems like every time
they won like 5 of their last 6. Like they're doing well.
But
as no, I know. I agree with you. I'm saying, like, it's funny how they've won 5 of 6, and yet it almost looks like they're ready. They're on the precipice of exploding.
I would say
the players themselves know that the the guys in the room.
Have they acquired John Gibson yet, Drew?
Well, I mean, the guys in the room know that the goaltending is not sufficient. So the players are getting increasingly frustrated by saying that, look, we're doing everything we possibly can, but management isn't supporting us by getting a goaltender. So we're already, we're behind the 8 ball before the puck is even dropped because we have no faith in either of our goaltenders. That's what that frustration to me is from Miles Wood.
Drew, you're right. We always talk about the importance of goaltending. Everybody that watches hockey at any level knows that.
Right.
And I stand by with what I said about Kaapo Kähkönen. Obviously, the Moose are happy, Dave, to get Kaapo Kähkönen back after the Jets lost him on waivers. But why is Colorado putting him on waivers? Kaapo Kähkönen should be in net right now for the Avalanche because Annunen and Georgiev can't stop a beach ball or 3 beach balls at this point. So the goaltending, you're absolutely right. I mean, with the years McKinnon and Makar are putting together, this team should be further up the standings. Anyways, this is an Avalanche lunch, as Dave likes to say. We're talking about the first goal by Jake Middleton. And, yeah, Brock Faber just does a nice job of identifying Marcus Johansson. He has Marcus Johansson there. And it's just a shot rebound, traffic rebound goal. Like that's all this goal is. It's good traffic in front by the Minnesota Wild. Jake Middleton comes in off the left side. Middleton's a good player, guys. We'll get into it on the Alex Iafallo goal where he has that kind of partial breakaway, and then everybody decides that they want to play tango with Alex Iafallo behind the play. But I've been really impressed by Middleton. He used to be on San Jose, if I'm not mistaken. He's turning to be a really good defenseman for a guy that's kind of unheralded. I believe he was a late draft pick, right, Dave? I'd have to check what round he was drafted in. But yeah, just kind of a nice job. The Wild, I mean, Kevin Sawyer, our buddy, was talking about that a lot in the broadcast. That's what the Wild were doing. Kind of similar, guys, to what Colorado does, right? Like, they're quick team, skilled team, get the puck back to their defensemen. Their defense like to activate, get the puck on net, traffic. And really, is there more to that goal, Dave? I mean, it was a pretty simple goal.
Yeah, just Scheifele loses body position, loses track of where he should be.
Scheifele could have been a little closer.
Which has nothing to do with his ability to take faceoffs.
Right. It just has his ability to play defense. That's a different story altogether. Jake Middleton, to your point, as he was Mr. Irrelevant in the 2014 NHL draft, the last draft pick in the draft by the Los Angeles Kings. He never played for the Kings. He eventually went to San Jose and played his career.
You always love to see that, right, Drew? You always love to see those guys that kind of are their upside is a third pairing defenseman. He's playing on the top pair with Brock Faber. Pretty good.
I will say, though, I'm always disappointed that he's not related to Rick Middleton.
There you
go. That's played for the Team Canada in the 72 Summit Series.
Yes, a famous member of the Boston Bruins back in the day, Rick Middleton. 1-0 for the Minnesota Wild at that point in time. The Jets really are struggling to generate anything until under 2 minutes later, about a minute and let me do some quick math here. A minute and 26 seconds later, out of nowhere, sort of, the Jets get a goal from Alex Iafallo. It starts with a real nice effort by Rasmus Kupari, as he was talking about the impact of the fourth line. Kupari hard on the forecheck, makes a nice pass out to Alex Iafallo, who's on his backhand, and really unleashes a hell of a backhand shot to beat Philip Gustafsson and tie the game up at 1. It's also the Seagram shot of the game.
Wow.
The Seagram shot of the game.
Did I hear a little wow come out of you there, Mr. Manuk? I heard
there was a little heckling from the crowd. Yep.
Yeah, there was a wow. I mean, do you have a problem with that selection?
No, I'm just I'm enjoying. We don't often give backhands.
Well, that was a backhand. Did you see that backhand? That was
Don Cherry always said the backhand is the hardest shot to stop. So for a goaltender, and I think he was right on this one because it's just the work by Rasmus Kupari on the forecheck is what deserves the credit. I mean, Alex Iafallo, real nice shot, no question about it. And I like the fact that he just, again, it's deceptive, right? And that's why it's such a difficult shot for a goaltender to save because they don't know where it's going. But I just love the fact that Kupari just doesn't stop moving. And that's exactly what you want. That's like, as he said, he's only got the 1 assist, but it's not for a lack of effort. And look, Ville Heinola, right? A little calm play, not doesn't hot potato the puck. He kind of gets that puck out of the zone to make sure that it's not going to result in a chance against. And I don't want to understate how important this goal was because it was, even though the shots were only 9-6 at this point in favor of Minnesota, the tide felt like it was turning, right? Especially given the fact that they'd given up the first goal. Now I think the Jets have given up the first goal in, I think, now 8 wins. They've won 8 times.
I was going to say like half of their games. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not something that they're too fearful of doing, Ezzy, but not that they want it to be a habit, of course. But I just like the fact that they strike back quickly. And it's no surprise. It's the line that's been working their ass off all season long. And we've talked about it. Scott O'Neill said the other day when we were with him at the Matt Frost Media Center, he called them a Lowry light line or something like that. But they're effective. They cycle, they go in quick, they don't take long shifts, and they do stuff like this. And when you can do stuff like this and you can get contributions from your fourth line, well, it's obviously going to do nothing but help your team. And so Alex Iafallo finds some time and some space, and he puts it into the back of the net. And it's a great goal because, like I said, it gives the Jets the life they need in that moment of the game to make it feel like, because again, if Minnesota busts it open with a second goal, that place is going to go crazy. And the Jets, who are the number 1 team in the NHL, Ezzy, but because of what happened against Nashville, there's a little consternation in Jets Nation. Well, here they now equalized it and feel a bit better.
I'm here for Dave freestyling. That's going to be our new segment. Dave freestyles his recaps of the Jets games. I'm on board with that.
Rabbit.
With that new addition there. Dave will be at the Tacos and Tequila Festival this coming June.
Yeah, have they announced who's going to be performing at that
Not yet. They just announced the date
Yeah.
of the show. They haven't announced who's performing yet.
Yeah, maybe we'll go together, Drew.
No, I am going with my wife.
Well, I can come with you guys.
Not so sure about that. I have to check with her
Okay,
first.
I'll talk. I'll talk to Laura. She likes me better than you do. She always has.
That's true.
I want to. I want to say, just to add one thing, because like as far as I'm concerned, this is my type of hockey porn. Like I absolutely loved this goal, and I'll give Dave M credit because he's been talking about Rasmus Kupari for weeks now. And like we've talked about, like he doesn't have a ton of goals, doesn't have a lot of assists, but he's established himself. And again, I want to mention this. You hate that David Gustafsson can't get in the lineup because I'm a big fan of Gus Bus, but I don't think you can take. You certainly can. No, I don't think you can take. You can't take Kupari out of the lineup right now. The way he's playing, good on faceoffs, good on the penalty kill. He's reliable, right, Dave? And let's be honest. Last year was not. He had an injury. But he wasn't very good, right? Didn't score a goal in 28 games or whatever it was. But this goal, like this, he applies the forecheck, and it's not just a forecheck. He puts the body on Jared Spurgeon, who's obviously a smaller defenseman, but he's one of the Wild's top defensemen. And you also have to give credit for Alex Iafallo here. He toe drags. I forget if it was. He gets crushed, by the way, after this goal.
He's on his back when the goal's in. He's on his back.
But I mean, you hear this all the time, and people who've watched hockey. A lot of hockey or even a little bit of hockey. No, like you have to go to the slot to score. And that's what Iafallo does. And he toe drags somebody. It might have been Marco Rossi. I'm just looking at the replay here because this boys was the Jets' fourth line versus the Wild's second line. And the second line, for those who don't know, is Rossi, Johansson, and Ryan Hartman.
It was Marco Rossi. You're right.
So I mean, there's just I think this is very deserving of the Seagram shot of the game, Drew. I usually like to poo-poo your choices.
Yes.
Obviously, the other two goals were tips, and then we could have given it to Adam Lowry's empty netter, which, if I'm not mistaken, was also a
Niederreiter. His backhand move was pretty slick to make it 2-1, which seamlessly puts us there. It's 1-1 after 20 minutes, so the Jets survive the onslaught of the first 20 minutes, and then they begin to play better in that second period, I would say. They take an early penalty. Hayden Fleury. I'm reading it wrong. I apologize. The Jets begin to find their game a little bit more in that second period. And with Alex Iafallo just getting absolutely mugged by two Wild players. This is just what a sort of a wild sequence. Pardon the pun there, as it's Jake Middleton comes in on a breakaway on Connor Hellebuck. He gets two chances to beat Connor Hellebuck in the second period. Hellebuck, of course, is up to the snuff to make the save. The puck goes back down the other ice, the other way. The Jets have a 4-on-3 because Eriksson Ek and Jakov Trenin are more interested in trying to rough it up with Alex Iafallo. He sort of baits both of them. Forget about the play. Meanwhile, as the play is going on, Niederreiter gets a pass from, I believe it was Cole Perfetti. Neil Pionk is who put the pass on Niederreiter.
Yeah, Perfetti brought it into the zone.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's Perfetti who sort of backs off and takes Ryan Hartman with him out of the play to give Niederreiter the opportunity to deke through and go backhand on Philip Gustafsson. The backhand was the shot of the game for the Winnipeg Jets, clearly, to give the Jets the unexpected 2-1 lead after they'd been badly outplayed for the first, 30 or so minutes of this game.
Yeah, there's a lot to like here. Like, you have to like how the Jets have that situational awareness, right? And I hate to use like the big words, like Drew usually uses the big words, but I mean,
you used them right this time, so good on you.
Well, no, but they identify that they've got numbers here. It's a 4-on-2 situation, right? Because as you mentioned, it's Trenin. Who did we say? Trenin and Eriksson Ek that are preoccupied with Iafallo, right? Yeah. And I agree with a lot of the comments that we've had tonight in the chat. Like, Iafallo did a great job of being that SHIT disturber. I'm not going to say the word, Drew. I'm only going to spell it. But you love how Perfetti slows it down, and then Nemesnikov realizes, okay, I don't have to put a shot on net. I've also got Neil Pionk here coming in, and then Neil Pionk makes a nice little pass, and just a nice backhand move by Nino Niederreiter here on Gustafsson. And Nino Niederreiter is a guy that, sometimes you go 2 or 3 games without talking about him, but, he's come up. How many times has he come up with big goals, guys? And he comes up with the winning goal tonight. He's been so good for the Jets this year, and since he was acquired by the Jets, and scores against his old team. So not a bad night for Niederreiter, not a bad night for the third line. And this goal was, to me, I mean, an absolute killer coming at a time when the Wild still had all the pressure, as Drew mentioned when he was describing the goal, right? Middleton had a decent chance. And,
Right.
it's a killer because I think at that point, guys, the shots were like, they were something
34-13.
At that time. Is that what they were? Yeah.
34-13.
I was going to say 30-15. So I was kind of correct a little bit, Dave, but you got the exact number there. So, I mean, when you're doubling up a team in shots and you've only got a goal to show for it, that's frustrating.
Right.
And so that's the type of goal that's just a backbreaker.
Well, especially because it comes, sorry, Dave, it comes right after the Wild kill a Jets penalty.
And that you were right, Drew,
sorry,
by the way. That was the Hayden Fleury penalty.
No. The
Hayden Fleury took a penalty earlier in the second period.
Right, he did take a penalty in the second period. The Jets killed it off, but this goal happens right after the Ryan Hartman interference penalty. So the Wild should be flying high because they kill off the Jets power play. They get an opportunity with the Middleton on the breakaway, and instead it goes right back down the other end of the ice, and the Jets score. So you can see why the Wild would be a little bit, why they would have that sag and hang their head a little bit after this sequence of events. They're feeling good, killing the penalty, and then quickly it becomes a negative again as the Jets score, transitioning up the ice.
Well, I love the fact that Iafallo's got two guys. I mean, it's a terrible decision by Trenin and Eriksson Ek. And the funniest part is Neil Pionk watching the replay actually looks back to see if he's got to go back there and deal with Iafallo being overpowered, realizes, okay, he's now come up the ice, I can get into the play. And 2 seconds after he
situational awareness.
Yeah. And 2 seconds after he looks back, he's like, okay, here we go. I got the puck. I'm going to dish it over to Nino Niederreiter. And I mean, Nino Niederreiter, I mean, he's got 9 goals already. That's unbelievable that Nino Niederreiter has 9 goals. And
he's going to get 20 goals like he does every single year.
I was going to say, that's the thing, Dave. Like, I feel like, for how many years have we been talking about, it's ridiculous that Kyle Connor's underrated, right?
Right.
Like, how is he underrated at this point? How can you be that good of a player and be underrated? But like, to me, Nino Niederreiter, I mean, if I don't know if we can call him underrated because, like you said, he's got 9 goals, and I think he's getting a lot of attention from other teams with the way he's playing because we've talked about it so many times.
When that trade
it's not
happened,
really a third line; it's more like a 2B, right?
When that trade happened, and then when he subsequently signs the contract extension with the Jets, that's the kind of thing that makes all the other teams in the NHL, maybe except for the Nashville Predators, because they traded him away for a bag of dog bones. That's the kind of thing that makes all the other teams curse, because he's a guy who would have been in such high demand, because every team, especially good teams, need a guy like him. We've talked about this over the years, that he's just the kind of player that teams that win need on their roster.
For sure. And to me, he is just he's just so well liked. I mean, the team, they absolutely love him on this team.
Right.
And I mean, it looks like everybody loves him. You can see that, he's got the smiles, everything's like that, but
he pays the price, Dave. And that's
I was going to say,
that's the thing you got to love about this type of game. Like, the Jets were like, let's be honest a bit. They were getting bullied a little bit, or not a little bit. They were getting out muscled a lot in certainly the first period and well into the second period. Yeah. And they pushed back, and that's what you want to see. And this was the type of game that could have easily got out of hand. We talked about earlier. I in my notes here, I have the save by, I wrote brilliant save on Marcus Johansson, right? Like, that was the save when Hellebuck's making saves like that, like just ridiculous saves using his positioning. Yeah. Usually the Jets are going to win those games.
Well, and anyways, the last thing about Nino Niederreiter that I was going to say, though, is just that he's just, like I said, I just can't get over the fact that you watch this guy night in, night out, and he's just such a professional. And that's what he brings, that workhorse, that work ethic. And just to kind of finish off what Ed was saying, this is a backbreaking goal. You are up. You deserve to be winning 4-5-1. Connor Hellebuck is a 2-time Vezina winner. Looks like 3-time. I mean, that might be some foreshadowing. Not very difficult to be doing, but you should be killing the Jets based on the way the game had been going. But Connor Hellebuck is Connor Hellebuck, and that's kind of how I led into the show with this tweet, because you don't apologize. He is who you drafted, who's won 2 Vezinas, but nothing can kill a team more than, especially the fact that they just had that breakaway.
Yeah.
They don't score. And then the reward is, oh wait, the Jets just scored. And that, again, that seemed to break the Wild. Like, I'm not saying that they didn't have more chances after, but that really is that.
Well,
that
once
just
the second
kills
period
them.
came to an end with them still down 2-1, they had nothing in that third period. They were running on empty in that third period. The Jets was just far and away, again, the tale of two cities, the tale of two games. The Jets were far and away the better team in that third period. It took the Wild, 8.5 minutes into that third period to get their first shot on goal. They finished the third period with only 5 shots. They got
which is
outshot.
very impressive.
Right. That's incredible commitment by the Winnipeg Jets. They're saying, look, our goalie dragged us to this point of the game after 40 minutes. We're up 2-1 thanks to Connor Hellebuck, thanks to our goalie. Now it's on us to affirm the victory by going out and playing a smothering Winnipeg Jets style, which they did. And then, of course, when you have the top-ranked power play in the league, that also helps as Alex Iafallo gets his second of the game. He gets his second of the game on the power play. I was going to say his third point of the game. He didn't get an assist for dragging 2 Wild guys into a fight, but he deserved it.
He got the third
Iafallo,
assist.
a tip. You saw the 2 layers of tip artists in front of Gustafsson. Neil Pionk gets the shot through. Iafallo's there. Niederreiter's there. Iafallo gets his stick on it. Gustafsson gets a little bit on it, but not enough. It goes past him, and the Winnipeg Jets have a 3-1 lead with 6 minutes and 40 seconds to go in the third period. This an all-important power play goal for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, it was a nifty little kind of spin pass by Perfetti because Perfetti, I'm sure you guys were thinking the same thing, right? Like Perfetti did a good job kind of faking the shot, not literally faking the shot, but by being a shooting option, right? And then getting the puck back to Pionk, who Drew talked about was really solid tonight, playing with his new partner, Hayden Fleury. And again, sometimes hockey is just that simple, right? And, the second power play unit obviously isn't as heralded as the first power play unit, but, they've got a lot of talent out there. And this was just layers of traffic. And like we talked about in the first, 10 minutes of the show or something like that, it looked like Niederreiter might have gotten a piece of it, but because he was in front of the net too. But yeah, just nice little tip by Alex Iafallo. And, we had the comment there earlier, like, I don't know if this is the best fourth line in the NHL, but it's got to be at the very least a top 5 fourth line, because all of these guys could move up the lineup and give you the same type of play and the same type of production. We talked about Nino Niederreiter. I think a lot of people in the chat earlier on this season, when we were debating who might be the second line center and would Brad Lambert possibly make the team as a top 6 forward, I mentioned, Niederreiter's a guy that would love to play in the top 6, even though he's become a staple of that third line, but he could. Same thing goes for guys like Alex Iafallo and Rasmus Kupari and Morgan Barron, right? So like you said, Drew, the power play, I don't think they had any goals against Nashville, right? I didn't watch a lot of that game.
No, the power play did not do anything.
So they got back to their goal scoring ways.
Yeah, they got a timely goal.
That was the insurance goal that they needed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the insurance goal that they needed, and that made it 3-1. Before we get to the empty netter, not that we spent a lot of time with empty net goals, it's worth noting that the Jets played really almost half of the second period without Mark Scheifele, because he was in the box with the coincidental minors with him and Jake Middleton. They got those minor penalties with a minute to go in the first period. So they were in the box to start the second. And when it's a coincidental minor, you don't get out of the box until the whistle blows. Well, both teams played about a 7 or an 8 minute stretch of hockey after the penalty expired without a whistle. So the Jets really did play,
was
first
it that
7.
long? I knew it was long. I didn't realize it was that long.
It was. I mean, let me. I don't know if I have it right here. Mike McIntyre. Let me see where he says it. I saw that he tweeted it. If I can find it quickly, I will.
No, I believe you, Drew. But and also Scheifele.
8 minutes and 5 seconds. It was an 8 minute and 5 second
really
penalty.
Long time.
Yeah.
So and also, you could just look at Scheifele's ice time. I just did. It's 17 minutes, right? Which is below what what does he usually average, around 20 minutes of ice time? So that kind of explains that. And yeah, Scheifele's been taking some penalties lately. But again, something to note. That injury, whatever it is, we're not sure. But obviously, he's going to fight through it on this road trip. So I don't think he's going to miss any games. At least it doesn't look like he is.
And then the Jets, of course, get the empty netter with 1:03 to go. Adam Lowry, his 5th assist to Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele. And just what's impressive about the Jets over the last 5 minutes of the game is Minnesota's trying to pull the goalie and they're trying to establish some zone time. The Jets just wouldn't let them do it. The Jets really did a masterful job in closing out tonight's game. They started slow. They started poorly. If it wasn't for Connor Hellebuck, it probably doesn't end up the way it does. But the Jets, to their credit, they finish strong and they head over from Minnesota to La La Land, Los Angeles, California. On Wednesday night, they face the Kings at, what's it called now? Crypto.com Arena, if I'm not mistaken.
We see you, Jay. For the people listening on the podcast, Jay's asking if we can see him. We can see you, Jay. We can see you.
Jay is watching through our Facebook feed as opposed to the YouTube feed. So there's probably, I think there's a little less chatter on the Facebook feed versus the YouTube feed, but we're happy to have you, Jay, whether it be Facebook, whether it be YouTube. I mean, if you appear in one of Ezzy or Dave's basements, I suppose that would be fine as well, but I'll leave that for a separate issue.
If you appear in my basement, please bring drywall.
Yes, that's all we ask. Exactly. If you can do, we're drywall man. Where are you? You have a client who's just crying out for drywall. He's sitting right there. He needs you now badly, drywall man. Jets win 4-1 over the Minnesota Wild. They improve to the incredible record. What is it now? 17-4? 18-4 through
the dream of 78-4 is alive, Drew.
It is incredible. We'll come back. We'll talk more about the Jets and the Wild. We'll talk about the Jets and the Kings. Don't go anywhere. It's a Monday night edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Smash the like button. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. It's all presented by our friends at Play Now.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in 2 unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Monday night, Drew Mandel, Dave Manuka, Ezra Ginsburg with you. The Jets are victorious 4-1 tonight over the Minnesota Wild. The Jets next in action on Wednesday against the Los Angeles Kings. Join us for the Illegal Curve post-game show right around 11:45 p.m. Central Time. So just before midnight. Hopefully it will start before midnight, assuming the game doesn't go into overtime or anything like that. So it'll be a late night, but it'll be a fun one. It's U.S. Thanksgiving on Thursday, so I assume everybody's taking the day off to watch football, so it doesn't matter that it's a late game on Thursday night, or Wednesday night, rather, right? That's right.
Gobble,
good. Just want to make sure.
Turkey, Drew.
Yes, gobble, gobble, turkey, turkey. Pardon me, Connor Hellebuck.
You have a little turkey in your throat, Drew? What's going on there?
A little bit there. Connor Hellebuck became the fourth goalie in NHL history to reach the 15-win mark in 17 games. The other three goaltenders.
Hold on, let me guess them.
Okay.
Evgeny Nabokov.
Yes.
Well, you said Evgeny, so obviously
yes,
that wasn't.
That was good.
One.
Yeah.
Whew.
You won't get the other two.
Lundqvist?
No, you won't get the other two.
Are they not? Are they not prominent goalies?
They are not prominent goalies.
Brian Boucher.
Shocked. No, not even Brian Boucher. That Brent Johnson for the St. Louis Blues in 01-02. So I know you weren't going to get Brent Johnson because I bet you didn't think Brent Johnson had 15 wins, period, in his NHL career. And the other one was good old Tiny Thompson back when I was just a little young lad.
Was that for the Bruins?
What's that, Dave?
Is that for the Bruins?
Yeah, for the Bruins back in 29-30.
Yeah, because that was, I'm pretty sure if I recall correctly, that's the reason he was the one that had the record when they had didn't allow 3 goals.
Yeah.
Like more than 3 goals, sorry.
Yeah.
I think he was a big part of it. Plus also he was,
wasn't that Mud Bruneto?
Might have been Mud.
Yeah. All guys who Drew got to watch as a youth.
Yeah, Tiny Thompson was Drew's roommate back in the 20s.
It's true. We hung out. He was a great guy. Connor Hellebuck talking after the game, quote, "I felt good. I was seeing it." There you go. No argument there from me. He did feel good, I'm sure, and he was seeing it as he certainly backstops the Winnipeg Jets to a victory tonight over the Minnesota Wild. I'd like to see what he was. If he wasn't feeling good, I'd like to see how he would have performed because that would have been even more impressive. Scott Arniel, according to Mike McIntyre, who's on site in St. Paul, didn't think the first period was as lopsided as the 22-7 shot advantage for Minnesota indicated. Quote, "I think the shot clock guy fell asleep on the button," he told Mike McIntyre.
Well, they did add some shots. Did you guys notice that? Did you notice? Did you notice? Yeah, it was like 18 or 19 shots, and then they came back, and it was like 22 shots. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure
they wanted Connor to feel better about himself. They were worried about.
Because it was funny because I looked at my tweet and I was like, oh, and then the second period started, and I'm like, how is it already 23? They get like 5 shots and it only been like 10, 15 seconds had run down off the clock. I'm like, what is going on here? But yeah, no, the shot. I mean, that is the variable that sometimes people fail to take into account when they're looking at numbers.
Yes.
And you have to understand that there is variance in the people who do. It's not like it's the same consistency. It's
not an exact science.
Well, no, I mean, it's worth mentioning because I think sometimes people forget that, and there is a lot of human error or human judgment, I should say, maybe not error, but human judgment that's involved with this. And we know a lot of the off-ice officials, good guys and girls, but at the same time, like they're human like everybody else.
And Bill Guerin, Minnesota Wild general manager, after the game, he went down to the Jets dressing room and congratulated Connor Hellebuck for his performance tonight. I think Bill Guerin was wearing his
Four Nations there.
Yeah, his Four Nations Team USA hat and not his Minnesota Wild hat.
You don't see that very often, boys.
No, you do not. You do not see that very often at all. But, obviously he knew he was very happy that he's going to be able to lean on Connor Hellebuck come Four Nations tournament time in February, given what he saw tonight for the Winnipeg Jets against Guerin's Minnesota Wild. A great night for the Jets. Victorious. They head over to L.A. Plenty of post-game coverage still to come on illegalcurve.com. And of course, Dave M will have all the post-game recap available for you on the website moving forward. And then tomorrow morning, the morning papers as well. If you haven't already done so, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the podcast. Your job, each and every one of you that are still here, is to tell one other friend who isn't already here on a regular basis that this is where they need to spend their post-game time.
It's a word of mouth type of show. That's what we
right.
run on here.
Yeah, we don't have an advertising budget.
No.
We spent that on beer and pizza over the years. So be sure we're relying on the good people in the chat and the good people who are watching and not chatting, which is also perfectly fine. Tell more people about us and what we do and how entertaining we are, and that Dave and Ezzy are always color coordinated when it comes to their shirts on the post-game show.
What's our red IC shirts? We got to rock these.
Color coordinated. I'm wearing my gray. You guys are wearing red. In any event, that's what we ask of you to do after tonight's post game. Remember, check out our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram, because we are giving away 4 tickets in conjunction with our friends at Play Now. We're giving away 4 tickets to the Jets Habs game Saturday night, December the 14th. That's coming up in just under 3 weeks' time. The draw is going to take place, I believe, on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. So if you have not yet entered, you still have time to enter. Go to our Facebook page. Go to our Instagram page. Look for the post. It's right there, front and center, prominently. Answer the trivia question. It's pretty easy. I think you'll be able to answer it without a lot of difficulty and get your name into the draw to win 4 tickets to the Jets and the Habs coming up in a couple weeks' time. Also, while you're on our Instagram page, as Dave mentioned, Colby Spence, our photographer, he was in St. Paul tonight. So he's going to have some great shots. If they're not already up there, they're going to be up there very shortly. So you can see what Colby saw in his spot from the photographer's booth, the photographer lens position at Excel Energy Center.
Dave, did we give him some money to go to what was it called? Sneaky Pete's after? Is that
in
place
Minneapolis?
still there?
That's not in St. Paul. That's in
Oh,
Minneapolis.
yeah, it's pretty close. Is that place still there though? I haven't been to Minneapolis in years.
We haven't been there
ever since
like
the last time where we found you trying to break into a hotel that wasn't yours.
And swimming in a fountain.
No, that was a long time ago.
I know. Those are still
You're talking about like 15 years ago. Yeah. I also once
that was when I chose to go to the Mall of America instead of the
Springsteen concert.
Bruce Springsteen concert with everybody else.
It was a dark time in Dave's life. He went to the Mall of America.
For the record, I would do it again.
I know. He went to the Mall of America so that he'd go to the Apple store so he would click the ads on illegalcurve.com. So he would generate ad revenue.
Not true.
100%
like, do I see one of the best bands of all time, or do I go to Build-A-Bear? That's a tough choice.
Big thank you to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website a possibility. That's our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. If you're looking for a great Black Friday deal, spend $100, buy a $100 gift card to Rumors, get 8 free tickets. That's on now. That's on this week only. So get there, rumorscomedyclub.com, and you can get your way that great Black Friday deal. Our friends at Play Now, of course.
Hold on, Drew. What about Tim Meadows? That's a big.
Yes, Tim Meadows.
Huge.
Sorry,
I love Tim Meadows.
Tim Meadows.
I'm definitely getting my tickets to that one.
Yeah, Tim Meadows, just announced by our friends at Rumors. Tim Meadows is going to be performing in 2025 at Rumors. Tickets are going on sale for that show, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Wednesday at 2:00. So you, of course, know Tim Meadows from his stint on Saturday Night Live for so many years. That's going to be February 20th through 22nd. I believe that's while the Jets are off. So you have no excuse not to go because the Jets won't be playing. Instead, you'll be at Tim Meadows to see you'll be at Rumors to see Tim Meadows February 20th through 22nd. Thank you for reminding me about that, boys.
And I'm sure, Drew.
Yeah.
I'm sure you want. Well, hold on. I'll let you finish, and then I'll.
No, go ahead. What are you going to say?
Well, I was going to remind the folks about what the prospects did in yesterday's games.
I wasn't going to. I'm exhausted. But if you want to do that, you can do it real quick if you want.
Well, I will indeed. Kieran Walton, the 2024 6-rounder, scored a power play goal. He was up against Colby Barlow, who also scored a power play goal. So Barlow's heating up a little bit. He had a terrible start to the year, 3 points in his first 10 games. He's heating up. I think he's got 7 and 4 for 11 points in his last 11 games. So that's a little bit better. Jacob Julian didn't get on the score sheet. Well, he did technically. He scored a shootout goal as the 2023 5th-rounder. He's having a bit of a down season, but he's on a juggernaut London Knights team. They've won 15 straight games. But Kieran Walton, who is like I said, a 6th-round pick. Jets did well with 6th-round picks. We know Mason Appleton, of course, in 2015, but Kieran Walton, 6'6", picked in the 6th round, and he's currently 10th in scoring in the OHL. He surpassed his good friend Kevin He, his best friend Kevin He, the other day with that goal. So Kieran Walton's a guy that folks should be paying attention to. BFF, says he.
Yeah, Dave needs a bumper for the prospect report, Ezzy. We're going to have to work on that for shows moving forward. We got the Moose bumper. There's no Moose report today. We did that on Saturday, but we'll get a prospects bumper going on. Our friends at Holt Dental, Boston Pizza, City Place, and of course, Seagram's support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Big thanks to all of you for joining us. Big thanks to Dave Minuk. Big thanks to Ezra Ginsburg. For both of those fine gentlemen, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel and the podcast, and let us know what you think of this program. Until Wednesday night at 11:45, we wish you good night and good luck, and thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.